And hey guys, just want to say thanks for joining us. And we're gonna talk some probate today and everything. Just want to thank my friend Bill Gross for coming on and of course sharing some shedding some knowledge and shedding some light with us on how to be a probate expert. And so Bill, I was thinking, you know, I guess how would it work for an out-of-state probate situation? I was just thinking about that, and I just wanted to kind of pick your brain on that and see what you thought. If we got a family here in Georgia, but then live in the family's in California. Well, the heirs in California. How would something like that work?
Well, and so there's two ways to look at it, right? One is the Georgia resident has an heirship in another state, and the second one is the California resident has a property that they inherit that's in Georgia. So those are kind of the two opposites. And the thing I tell people is that probate laws vary state to state, and the practices vary by county. So in general, in California, for example, any property sold through a probate process has to have a probate established in California. So you can be in Georgia and have, if somebody passes, unless they're titled on the property here in California when they buy it. So just use an example, husband, wife own, let's say, a second home or rental property, or they're given a property by grandma and they're entitled both, and husband passed away, here in California, if the wife's on title already, she would inherit. But let's say mother and father both pass away, now nobody's on title is alive, even though there's only kids. And in Georgia, maybe automatically the kid gets the property. We can't sell the property in California without what we would call a sub-probate in California. So what would happen would be, in Georgia, you would start whatever your process is to get authority, and then that person would then file a sub-probate in California and say, hey, I'm the executor or administrator in Georgia, in county of whatever, for this estate, and we have a property in Los Angeles that we want to sell. It's now the name of the decedents, and they have a probate, and they have to show that they're authorized to do that, and that goes through the process. And so that's one of the reasons I do this podcast is, obviously, if you are a realtor or attorney in Georgia and have probate in California, I'd love to help you. And vice versa. I know people here in LA who have property in Georgia, and maybe need an attorney or a realtor in Georgia or Atlanta, wherever. It goes back and forth. So again, to answer your question, I believe in Georgia you don't need a sub-probate. So for example, I believe in California, if the family here had a property in Georgia, once we have authority, I believe Georgia would allow us to sell it without a probate. The title company would just investigate the documents. But going the other way, the Georgia family has a claim to inheritance of a property in California or most other states, they would have to open a probate in that other state, sell the property to a probate, and take the proceeds.
Okay. So when you say the sub probate, so I guess the sub probate, this is just another, I guess another little process that either they could file or they could have an attorney to file for them or someone to file on their behalf.
Yeah, and I think in that case, it sounds more complicated, right? So imagine your family and, mom and dad have property in LA and pass away. It sounds more complicated because of those states. The reality is, typically, it's not more complicated. You already did the hard work in Georgia, meaning if there's multiple kids, you've already determined who's in charge of this state. And you've already probably determined how it gets split up. Maybe there's 3 kids and they all get a third. That's the harder work. Think of this, the sub-probate is just selling the property, converting the property to cash, and moving it to the probate in Georgia. So in California, we're not going to determine who gets how much. We're just going to sell. If you come to California and say, hey, I'm the administrator of the Joe Smith estate, all we're going to do is we're going to sell the house and then transfer the money to Georgia, to the Joe Smith estate, and then in Georgia, you're going to settle who gets that, what that means. And so it's actually simpler. And so I urge people, if you have need a sub-probate in California, unless it's complicated, we should use an inexpensive and very efficient attorney service rather than a typical attorney, because you probably don't need to go through all the legal machinations of who gets how much and fighting. We're really just converting the property to cash, and that's a simpler process. And so you should be able to save quite a bit of money. I say call me, I'll introduce you to some of the legal services I use that can do that efficiently.
Okay. So what happens when, I guess, when there's a dispute between the descendants or the heirs or whatever the case may be, and it's an issue where I would say maybe the will wasn't exactly spelled out, what percentage goes to who? I mean, how does something like that work when you're going through that probate process, or in that sub probate process as well?
Well, again, the sub probate. So imagine you have 3 siblings, and they're fighting over who's in charge, and they're fighting over who gets how much. And one says, "Hey, I'm the real heir," and the other 2 are not really dad's kids, or dad favored me, or he has some documents saying that he claims as a will. So that goes on in the probate court. That's what I would call the substantive fight that happens in probate. So in the case of a Georgia probate like that, at some point they can either settle all that and then sell the property in California, or what they can say is, look, we're fighting over this house, but it's worth, let's say, $500,000 cash. Let's put it in the bank account. We'll fight over the money rather than fight over the house too. Because if you fight over the house, you end up spending money. It sits there vacant. Maybe it gets vandalized. Maybe you get a squatter. And so I always urge people, if you don't need the property, sell it as fast as you can, convert it to cash in a bank account, and then fight over the money in the bank. And it's a much easier way to also resolve the issue, because if you have a property you're fighting over 3 siblings, they can fight over who gets how much, but they also might have 3 opinions of what it's worth. If you actually sell the property and get the best you can for it, well, now you're just talking cash. And by the way, if you agree to it, you can divide it to cash within days. Versus the house, even if you agree, so let's use a case, you have 3 siblings, and they all think they're entitled to more than a third. And the property is, let's say, worth $600,000. And you all come to agreement, okay, well, we'll sell for $200,000. Well, maybe the house, it turns out, it's only worth $500,000. Maybe there's a foundation problem, and there's a squatter, and there's some legal expenses. Well, now you have to go back to those 3 siblings and get them to say, hey, instead of $200,000, I'm gonna accept $166. Well, that's not automatic. They were already raw when they agreed to $200,000. Now you're gonna renegotiate. So that's why I tell people, I think the best thing is just get the property sold to convert to cash, because it's the most efficient way to dispose of the asset. It's also the easier way to negotiate a settlement, because once you have cash in your pocket, people are a little more agreeable.
Yeah, and I agree on converting the property to cash as soon as possible, because just like you said, there's a risk factor, especially if you're in Georgia, properties in California, or vice versa. If no one is sitting there watching the property, there's no one in the property. I mean, property getting vandalized, like I say, there could be a risk for squatters. Anything could happen. And especially with these rules nowadays, where squatters can go in and almost take your property. You really just have to be careful and make sure that you expedite the process as judiciously as possible.
There is nothing good that happens from the day you decide to sell property until the day the cash enters your account. There's nothing good. It all costs money. It's all risk of worse. And so once you've made a decision to sell property, I'm not saying sell it fast and cheap. I'm not saying give it away. I'm just saying from the day you decide to sell it, move forward purposefully, methodically, have a plan, execute the plan, but there's nothing good that happens, especially in LA, especially today. It is crazy what's going on in Los Angeles. Particularly properties that have been, vacant for a long period of time, particularly in lower income. And probate tends to, is more common in lower income areas. And so when you have lower income, you have more crime, you have more risks. So again, there's just nothing good that happens when property sitting vacant. Costs money, and it's just the risk of disaster. I've had problems that through the course of probate went down in value 50% because, first there was some graffiti, then there's some vandalism, then somebody moves in, they steal all the copper. Now you go from a livable property to just a shell that has to be torn down. It's heartbreaking to tell them about it. I've had cases where we've hired security guards and that doesn't solve the problem because unless you're there 24/7, criminals are more inventive than ever, more determined than ever. So definitely, I would say, particularly out of state, find something local to keep on the property and get it cash as soon as you can.
Yeah. Okay. So how long would you say it would take to, I would say, go through the probate process, and then go through the sub probate process? I mean, what's the fastest and what's the longest you've seen that take to get through that process?
So if you have a probate open in Georgia, right, you can open sub probate in California, get the property sold, and sitting in a blocked account. You can do that within, you file, you have authority within 30 days, and theoretically you could sell a house and turn to cash, let's say, another 30 days. So you can, within 60 days, go from a house that's in California to having the cash in the bank. Now, you can't take the money out yet because there's a creditor waiting period to make sure there's no creditors who are owed money. So you probably can't take the cash to Georgia for at least 6 months. I would say you should need about 9 months to a year to actually accomplish all that. Now, that said, you can borrow against the money. So if you sold property in California and it's sitting in a probate estate, let's say $500,000, and you need, let's say, $50,000 to fix the property in Georgia, or the legal fees for some other matter in Georgia, or you can put some in your pocket. There's ways you can access some of that cash ahead of time. It's not cheap, but it can be done. And once you turn to cash, it gets cheaper.
Okay. I got you. Now, so I guess I wanted to see if our audience have any questions. Anybody have any questions for Bill?
Can I just second Liam's emotions? I don't know if I can repeat what he said. I don't know how family-oriented your audience is. But, I can't repeat the words, Liam, but I am right with you. And I think the thing that's most frustrating, I'll just paraphrase and say, Liam is not happy where his interest are. I would say this, Liam, if you don't like them today, I don't think you're going to like them next month or next year. I don't see anything that tells me that we're heading in the right direction in interest rates. I just feel like we're driving towards the cliff and we're putting our foot down on the accelerator. We're not slowing down. We're running through stop signs. There's flashing lights and bells and whistles, and I don't see anything that tells me, yes, the Fed didn't raise rates. And I think the thing I would say about interest rates is that in some regards, they lack the moral courage to do their job, and they're just doing it to juice up the economy before the election because they perceive that keeps them in power. But in the long run, that's a good short-run decision. That's a bad long-run decision. That's been our pattern as a country. And so, Liam, if that's how you feel today, I can't imagine what you're going to say a year from now.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, I second that as well. I just don't, just like you're saying, I don't see an end in sight. I mean, initially, when this happened, I'm thinking, it's going to be 6 months, maybe a year that this is going to last. And I tell you what, a lot of people thought the same thing. And hey, if you had any cash reserves, I know a lot of people that have already gone through their cash reserves at this point in time because you didn't think it was going to last this long. So yeah,
I think the answer though to everybody on this call, I'm not selling a coaching program. I'm not selling anything other than, the American dream is work hard, you can achieve anything. And I think that while I appreciate the sentiment, I think that you really have to ask the question, well, how can I benefit from this? Or who can I help benefit from this while I benefit along the way? And so I'll share with you, I have a loan I made where I'm getting a really great interest rate because the rates are high and they need the money, and they're benefiting from the money I'm lending them. And as a result, I'm buying a property at a tremendous discount because I'm able to make that loan where other people can. And that's why I'm in real estate, because when inflation goes up, rates go up, everything I buy goes up, but so does the real estate. That's the bigger asset than everything I have. So I would say to you, let's take, and I'm with you, I'm with you 100%, but I would say that let's make sure we take that energy and use it constructively because the reason why rates are going up is the people in power, the small percentage, benefit. It's not an accident. It's not a freak of nature. It's not just a coin toss. This is a program of strategized program being unfolded on us as an economy. And so you can either choose to be the victim or you can choose to benefit. And also I think you can choose to help people or not. And so I think you can both help people and benefit by looking at this and finding the opportunity and working the opportunity that we all have. And that's why I'm in real estate, is to work the opportunity.
Yeah, great observation there, Bill. And Markia, she has a question.
Hi. I literally just got you all Zoom information. I'm actually starting the process and specializing in probates. So I've recently got a 5-step program together as to how I can help individuals go through the probate process. And I guess one of my questions is, I received a list of 100 names for my preferred county that has all the information, name, phone numbers of the executive, addresses. What would you say would be one of the best approaches from your experience as contacting them? And I've been looking through different scripts, and I'm more so just trying to figure out, should I come from a sense of sentiment when I call, or do I go right for, hey, trying to get the appointment to convert to closings? Because a lot of people that I'm seeing that I'm kind of studying the advice on are actually wholesalers. And I definitely feel like me being a real estate agent can provide a lot more, value, I would say, versus the wholesaler. So, just wanted to know about your experience with cold calling a probate list. And I'm also visiting not closing attorneys, but visiting probate attorneys as well too, dropping off flyers and just kind of asking them how can they provide service to me for my potential clients.
Well, great question, Markia. And I presume you're in the state of Georgia. You mentioned your county, but somewhere in Georgia.
That's correct.
Yeah. So a couple things that you say. One, you mentioned that you call on attorneys. I think that's much more productive than cold calling that list.
I'm visiting the attorneys versus calling them. Like I'm physically going.
You mentioned that. No, I think that's way more valuable. It's time consuming. You gotta get dressed up. You gotta drive, park the car, walk in, walk out, go to the next one. I get that's time consuming, but I believe that is one of the untapped opportunities for real estate agents, is physically going to attorneys. I would love to find. And part of it is it's hard work. And I want to say, I work hard now. I'm 65, and I do exercise every day intensely, but I try to keep my work not physical. So I don't door knock. I try not to go out for meetings for business. I try to do more Zoom than to be more productive. But when I was young, I went door to door. I was in the mortgage business. I went office to office to realtors. That's how I built my business. And there are people who used to do that. And my father was an attorney. And in those days, there were attorneys' services that came to attorneys' offices, whether they be legal services, title companies, mortgage lenders, realtors, would come into their offices regularly. There's not anymore. Now, part of it is COVID, stopped it. And part of it is, I think, that the younger generations just don't work as hard as we do. I mean, I should be in business. There should be young agents who kick my butt, but you know what? They don't work as hard as I do. Sorry, not sorry. And so, Markia, what you're saying is just so refreshing to hear that you do that I would be the attorney office specialist. I put my time with that rather than cold call or cold mail, because if you have the courage to do it, which it sounds like you do clearly, and the willingness to do it, you're going to build a huge business if you do it consistently. I would put all my energy on. I'd go all in on visiting attorneys in person, and build a business where maybe over time you bring in other people, maybe to work the areas that you don't, maybe the next county over, or
right,
whatever that means in your geography, or take over smaller counts and you just work the bigger counts. And I would be the expert, whether it means you're bringing in lunch, or you have handouts, or you do classes, or you work out and bring in a continuing ed speaker. I would be all in on that. That to me is a way better opportunity than learning how to cold call or cold mail them.
And can you explain the difference as to why, like I said, this is the market I'm trying to, succeed. So this is one of the ones I'm going after. So can you explain as to why you feel as though like the cold calling, and of course the attorneys have people coming to them, but elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, I think the other thing I would change is what you said. Look, I haven't met you, and I just listened to you speak for a minute or two, so I don't want to change your whole business. I don't want to diagnose you and diagnose an
I haven't really
operation.
started yet, so don't feel as though I've just got the flyers printed for the attorney's office. So anything you say, you're not screwing me in a different direction. Everything would be literally advice to move forward.
But you sound very friendly. You sound very upbeat, energetic. Your vibe is really positive. I think the thing, if I had to tweak a little bit from what you said the first time, where you said to see how they can help me with my clients, I'd say the opposite. I would go in the offices and ask, how can I help you with your business? And maybe you want to build a list of things you do for your prospective attorneys, and always look to add to it. So I'll give you an example. You're a real estate agent. Most real estate agents have relationships with title companies. Most title companies have access to public record information. Attorneys need that when they file probate. They have the proper legal vesting, the APN of the property, maybe a copy of the deed to verify the chain of title. And so I often offer to attorneys, if you're doing research on the property, call me, email me, text me. I'll get you the deed. I'll get you whatever you need. Like, offer that as a service to the attorney. And then the other thing I tell attorneys is that in general, attorneys, have limits on their sales activity. Number one, their ability. They don't learn how to sell because they're attorneys. And two, attorneys can't, in most states, sell. We're realtors. That's what we do. And so what I would say is, I'm sure you have prospects that come in and talk to you and don't follow up. If you introduce them to me, my job will be to be your follow-up team. I'll make a list of everybody you ever send me, and I'll follow up forever with them. I send out emails on real estate and probate. I'll follow up with them every 90 days, whatever your value proposition is. And so I would think about and spend some time, what can I do to help the attorney? And I would be continuing to add to that list of things you can do for them. And, there's a saying from one of my first coaches, Zig Ziglar: you can have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. So what's the attorney want? He wants more customers and happy customers. And if you help him or her get that, then you win.
And so to piggyback on that, Bill, is what I would say, Markia, is right now I'm going to be putting together an AI, how to 10x your production using AI. So with that being said, if you were to go out and generate the list and that type of thing, what I would do on our AI roundtable, which again, we're going to have it in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about how you can use AI in order to call those prospects for you. So that way you can, of course, email and call those prospects for you. So that way you can stay out there and continue to go out there and visit those attorneys' offices and everything. So we're going to put together I would say a great, well-rounded team in order to make sure that, everybody that joins the call, can be successful. But again, the reason that me and Bill, host this is so that way, people can have different views and different ways to go out and really, I would say achieve in this market and be able to go out and get more business. And so Bill's goal, is really to pretty much help as many people as he can, especially when it comes to probate.
If I could add one more thing, Markia, is one thing you said early on was that you work with wholesalers, and I think I would look at teaming with them as well, because you're really on the same hunt. They're going to find properties that, they're driving for dollars or looking at distressed properties, and they're going to come across what to them is a great deal. And the problem is the son's living the property, but the property's titled in the grandparents' name, and that's a probate. And so now you can, help them by taking that lead to an attorney and helping them through the process of what has to be done in some cases. So again, I would rather, if I were you, work with attorneys and work with wholesalers than calling directly on consumers. That way they're going to bring you consumers who are ready to do something with you rather than you.
All right. Anyone else have any questions, or you guys have any topics you want to discuss? Of course, on our future calls. If so, hey, put them in the chat, and that's something that we'll talk about in the future. Okay. Let me see here, Markia. Okay, go ahead, Markia.
Okay, so I did visit one attorney's office, and they said, hey, we don't work with realtors because by the time that someone get to us, they would have already chosen their realtor, which was kind of backwards to me. But like I said, I'm just starting this process.
Yeah.
From your experience as I'm learning, do you think that that was a correct statement that they potentially made, or do you think that they just don't want to work with real estate agents?
I think sometimes if you're a real estate agent, well, I mean, I'll use an easy example. Like, you're a woman. Are you married by chance? If that's personal,
I am.
Personal. Okay, you're on. So before you got married, you were dating. Did guys ever hit up on you that you weren't interested in, and you give them an answer that wasn't quite true, right? Like, maybe you were on a business meeting and you're in a bar waiting for your client, and somebody comes up and hits up on you in an inappropriate way. Do you ever say, well, thank you, I'm already, I have a boyfriend, when you didn't, maybe? I'm just saying that people will give you an answer. They don't know how to say no. They don't practice their script. And the other part is, sometimes attorneys feel insecure because they don't have that much business. Like, they'll say they do probate, but they really don't do that many. We all want more business. We all have a little insecurity about what we have and don't have. So I always tell people, don't take that as meaning anything. Here's a couple facts I can tell you. Most attorneys get about, and I can tell you, I've interviewed attorneys in probably 20 states. I've interviewed attorneys in Georgia. Not every county, but for sure several in Georgia. I know it's true there too. The ones who get probate cases, about 70-80% of the business is referred to them by a professional. Very commonly realtors, oftentimes also wealth providers, wealth advisors, bankers, stockbroker types, but very often real estate agents. Most attorneys who are proficient in probate and focus on it, do a lot of it, love to speak to realtors and groups because they know that's a good source of business for them to get. And so I'm not sure what company you're with, but to the extent you guys have office meetings and are able to create an audience, you should be inviting attorneys to speak to promote themselves as well as to promote you in the office. So I wouldn't take that to mean much. It also might mean they, look, it's kind of like I said, Ken, you say you got married. You didn't need every guy to think you were attractive and a good woman. You just needed the right one. And I think that's true with attorneys too. You just need a couple to want to work with. You don't need them all. And so somebody who says that to me, it might be true for them. They might only get, but think about this. So imagine every probate they ever get, the customer picks the realtor. Now you look in your, what company with, Marcia?
Keller Williams.
Okay, I don't want to disparage your office, but I used to work at Keller Williams. The average Keller Williams office, the average real estate office of any company, the top people are killer. The top 10% are killers, right? The top half are maybe okay. The bottom half, can I say it? I don't want to insult anybody, but they're not as good as me. And if that person is the one bringing the business to the probate attorney, the probate attorney's gonna have a tough time with his business. He should want to work with a better realtor. And so, if I was an attorney,
it's not that they actually already started the process of selling their home when they come to the probate attorney. Like, that's not typically how it works.
Right, you can't list the property without the probate.
Right. Okay.
So what they're saying is some incompetent realtor didn't know that, didn't check title, listed the property, maybe got into escrow and discovered, oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. I didn't check out the basic facts and the seller's not approved to sell the property yet. Right? So I think, again, I wouldn't take that to be a no forever. I would take that as a no for now. And if they're actually doing some probates, but I wouldn't make more of it than it is. It's just a no for now. And if they were geographically desirable, I would stop in there once a month or two and drop off information about title, probate, whatever your flyers are going to be. I wouldn't take them off my list because they said that to me. I would just say, okay, they haven't worked with me yet. They're getting their business maybe from on average through a real estate agent, and I can help them.
Right. Thank you for that advice.
Sure.
Yeah, and I would say, Markia, based upon that, I think there's maybe 30-something thousand attorneys in the state of Georgia. I mean, so we're talking about one. So just like Bill said, I wouldn't, hang my hat on just that one, and just because that's what they said. Hey, again, they're just trying to, maybe brush you off. It's a numbers game, as we all know. So I would just go to the next one. Like Bill said, add it to the list. Add them to the list. Go back later on. Maybe you'll get a different person next time, or maybe they'll have a different perspective next time, you show up, with a little different, material and that type of thing, just kind of promoting yourself as to how you can help them. And if you think about it, if you have a legal matter, you're not going to call a real estate agent to list the property. So if you have a legal matter, you're going to call an attorney, someone who can actually handle that legal matter. Just like Bill said, when it comes to sales, we're the one, or you guys are the ones that are going to actually sell the property. The attorney can't list the property. So again, I would say keep your head up and keep it moving.
Okay, thank you.
And eventually you'll have a list of the offices that you get business from regularly, and you'll hit those more often, and you have the list of offices that don't yet give you business, and you go there less often, and you kind of create a route of how you go about that and how often you go. And frankly, don't listen to anybody tell you how to set that up. You be the expert in your market. Whatever city you're in, business is done differently there than here. I would imagine, don't know a lot about Atlanta, been there a few times, like the city enough, but I imagine law firms in Atlanta, metro, downtown area, are very different than law firms out in a more suburban or semi-rural area. And you'll learn the right mix of offices, the right numbers, and how often to go based on you and the people that you're meeting as you go out there. And you want to adjust it constantly to get better results. So again, this might be an office that you go to again 90 days from now. Maybe that attorney wasn't nice to you and the other one is. And the other thing I would say this, if you go to law offices, you make sure you give proper respect to the administrative staff, receptionists, and the paralegals. They're really the ones that determine, if they love you, they're going to tell the attorney to use you. If they don't like you, you're dead. So I make sure.
Yeah, I brought flowers for attorneys, and I brought some discounted flowers that were very pretty, and they were very grateful, and had the attorney step out to meet me. So yeah, like a pop by was really nice.
Okay, I'm going to make an assumption here that you're healthy and that you're doing what you think makes sense. Because I'm telling you, women in offices or even men, that administrative staff, food, donuts, bagels. Whatever food you enjoy bringing to people, they're in an office. I'm just telling you, flowers are nice, but they're way the hardest through their stomach. So I would say, the same money, I might bring in a box of donuts or a box of bagels or whatever else you find appropriate. Cookies. Okay. Yeah. I'm just telling you, having been in law offices, same as I don't know if you ever worked in your real estate office, but for sure in a real estate office, escrow office, and I worked in a law office. My father was an attorney. For years, I would kind of work out of his office as a college, and people bought food, and they were like sharks, man. It was crazy. So.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? Any topics for next month? So hey guys, just so you know, what we really want to do is we really want to get this forum to 100 people. So hey, be sure to invite everyone out that you know. I mean, we're really going to have some great topics coming up. Bill's going to put together some great content, and we're going to get it out to everyone. And we really want to really grow, of course, this probate market in Georgia. And we feel that with you guys' help, of course, we can really do that. So with that being said, Bill, you want to let everybody know where they can find you at?
Well, I'm at Bill Gross Probate on social media. And then I host a program today, Thursdays, at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, called Probate Weekly, where I interview most common attorneys, sometimes vendors. So it's not like a coaching call or a lot of questions on that. You go to probateweekly.com and sign up, and you'll get an invitation to come. And it's a podcast as well. So probateweekly.com, or find me at Bill Gross Probate. Thanks, Wendell.
Yeah, not a problem, Bill. And again, just want to thank you guys for coming out. Of course, I'm Wendell.
He's the king, by the way. Just so you know.
I'm the king. That's right. I am the king. I'm not going to say what Liam said, but I am the king. So. But hey, if you guys need any help with residential or commercial lending, let me know. And like I said, we're going to have an AI forum, and again, me and Bill is looking to really help everyone grow their business this year. All right, guys, have a great week and a great rest of your month, and we'll see you next month.